It is an energy game at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day.
In the middle of the day. We are here. We are finally partially humanly here. It only took us 3 fucking weeks. My God. Dude, what a trip.
I have no words, which is a really silly way to start a podcast episode, but we're gonna give this a try. I mean, technology is definitely in full swing, pre-shadow, Mercury retrograde. It's no joke. Actually, Mercury retrograde starts on, I believe, the 1st, April
Yeah.
1st, which is also a joke. You know,
Haha.
I don't like to give my power away to these tech bots. And I like to use Mercury retrograde as a period to self-reflect, pause, hear how I'm speaking, reassess, reevaluate. But this Mercury retrograde very much feels like a stay in your own lane. If you're going to look at other people's lanes, you make sure you're staying in your own lane.
Dude, I really truly, and I mean, honestly, I'm praying that this is accurate, but I know that you and I run the field a little bit sooner than when it touches down on Earth. And these past 2, 3 weeks have been a motherfucking emotional roller coaster. Technology has not been fucking working for us. So I'm kind of like, I'm hoping that we already went through our Mercury retrograde and that we're going to be fine because I'm like, girl, if this
I
continues.
thought that about my Saturn return, and then at the tail end, it was like, boom,
Ugh.
gotcha, bitch. So we're along for the ride. We have a lot of amazing tools in our toolkit to get us through these moments that we just want to push our computers off of the rooftop. But obviously,
Push him off the ledge.
and maybe free fall, trust fall ourselves. I don't know. I'm fully committed to the ride. I'm committed to this journey. And, we got to be here for each other in those moments where we need an extra flotation device. So,
Mm.
love you, girl. Thanks for sticking it out with me. Thanks for braving. We just spent an hour trying to log on and troubleshoot.
Mind you, that it wasn't just this hour, it has been the past
Oh,
4 times we've tried to record. It's just like
yes.
fully malfunctioning, and we worked it out together, and then we get on the computer and it's Floptina again, and I'm like, what in God given's grace is happening? Oh, but we're here. We made it. Enough complaining. Now to complain about other things. Freak check?
Freak
How you feeling?
check. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm taking a big old deep breath because in those moments when technology pisses you the fuck off, that's all you can do. Control, Alt, Delete, take a deep breath, hard reset. What a great metaphor for life right now because, this tail end of Pisces season moving into Aries season has me just locked up in bed in fetal position in like you need to be still, you need to be resting, you need to recalibrate your energy and prepare for this wonderful eclipse in Mercury retrograde we have. And I guess from an energetic perspective, what I'm feeling very much is a force to sit in the calm before the storm
Mm.
and to really hone in my energy and prepare for what's to come. I can already feel this like little nasty side of me wanting to come out and just call people out on their shit. And,
Yes.
I'm still very much recovering from this betrayal. And it's very fitting moving into Aries season because the
Mhm.
the two people who, I got to experience this betrayal experience with are both Aries, and they're the acts in which they committed are very, very selfish, and I think that it has me reflecting a lot on the energy of what it means to be selfish,
Mm.
because I think in its highest form, it's a really good thing. It's you having your boundaries, it's, doing what's best for you, but I think the selfishness I experienced was people doing what they think is best for them, but not with any consideration for the other people involved.
Mm.
And so I guess wait, it's all about me right now. So my frequency is that of going high, going high, because that shit is low, 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 low brow
Mm.
bullshit. I want
Mm.
nothing to do with.
Mm.
So Tara just sent me this meme on Instagram a little bit ago that was all about like cord cutting during this
Yes.
beautiful portal period. And so just a good reminder that you don't need the other people that you're cutting the cords from in order to cut the cord. So
Mm.
that's all from me. And over to you.
Um, Prior to this technology fucking us up for a little bit, because I'm right there with you, and I think I've said it before. When I deal with technology, I have very little patience. I'm like flipping tables. So I am just happy we're here. But prior to that, um, as I mentioned, I've been on like an emotional roller coaster. I think I'm not really keen into what all the zodiac signs really mean and what energy they bring and all that good stuff, but doesn't mean that I don't feel it. So Pisces season felt like a fucking dream, and not like a fever dream, not like chaotic, just like literally, I feel like the problems I were facing, which were really like internal problems, they weren't as external, were the problems that I face in my dreams, literally. Like the situations that I bring up in my own subconscious were the ones that were playing out in my waking conscious. And then I didn't even
Which, hold on. Don't you feel like in dreams there is no solution to the problems in your dreams?
never.
And you have to accept that there's no solution.
Yeah. But also a weird state, like, where it's like I cognitively know there's a problem in my dream. Like, I'm not talking like
Mhm.
nightmares, right? Like, nightmares are scary. I don't really have nightmares, rarely. But like, cognitively, I'm like, this isn't good. But like, my heart and everything else, I'm like, whatever. Not my problem, even though it is
Yeah.
my problem. But that's really like what I was feeling, where I was like, well, I don't know, like I was in a daze, like I couldn't get my head straight. And then I didn't even know it was like the first day of Aries season, and then it was a fucking light switch. And I went from this like ethereal, like spacey space cadet kind of thing to I felt like I had ADHD. Like I was just like beep, 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 bop, beep, running. I don't know if I told, I don't, I think I told you this. Running from one end of the school to the other, just like high-fiving kids on the way, just like full energy. And then it went from like just this fun, playful energy to like spitfire, like poo, 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 poo. Like the way that I was explaining it was there had been a lot of fires coming up that I was like putting out prior to that. Like I was like, "Oh, you're having a problem? Squish. You're having a problem? Okay, got it. Okay, you're having a problem. Cool." And it was weird because I was like watching everyone's world crumble in some capacity. I had just been through a crumble and like coming out of the crumble with like my situation with Andrew and all that. And I was like, oh, haha, read the field before you guys. Now I'm the good one. And then Aries season came and I was like, well, now I want to start the fires. Like I was so like, pew, pew, pew. And then the full moon hit. And all of a sudden I was like, and Andrew's like, "Are you good?" I'm like, "No." No. And he's like, "Why?" I'm like, "I don't know. The moon, hormones, I don't know." And then yeah, it's just been this ride. And then so yesterday I went to Dance Nectar. Sad you weren't there. It was so fucking good, dude. Like Jocelyn's
Well, Can I just add I
Yeah.
was in a fetal position crying all morning and I could not make it to dance, so
That's okay. You were clearly reading the energy because that's what I wanted to do when I left. Um, I had hurt my ankle a little while ago, so I had to take it easy with the dance portion of it, but um it brought up like a lot of emotions without any narrative or story, like just the energy of the emotion. And I was like, "Oh my god, dude, like so much happened yesterday. It was crazy." Go to dance, come home, I'm like feeling like I want to be in a ball, but of course I literally am running into my house to make therapy. And I'm like, we're like 4 minutes late. So I pop on. I'm like, all right, Andrew, come sit down. So we sit down for therapy. And she's like, how are you feeling? And I just started sobbing. And I was just like, I have been working so hard to like reflect and pay attention and be an adult and do all these things. And I was like, I'm so fucking tired. Like, I just want to have fun. Like, I just want to experience being alive. Like, I don't want to have to fucking have all this responsibility and then all the responsibility of everybody else while their life is crumbling. And I was just exhausted. And then fucking fast forward an hour, it's like back to back. I go and meet with a bunch of my friends and we did a shroom trip together, courtesy of Godmother Chocolates. Fucking phenomenal. I haven't taken a full dose of shrooms in a good bit, but I swear I was on acid. Like I was like, no. Like the visuals, the colors, the movement, the mandalas, the energy work that was happening was crazy. And I was with a bunch of friends and I feel really grateful because they're all like super supportive and they're just like, "Hey, you do you. There's no right way. There's no explaining. There's also no anxiety mothering where it's like, "Oh, do you need anything? Are you okay?" Like, but no, it was just like, "Okay, you're going to go sit by yourself for hours. Word. Let us know if you need anything." And I spent almost the entire trip like with my eyes closed. Just
mm.
like sitting in the medicine, seeing visuals, and it was all energetic work. They were like, and I felt it. The psilocybin hit like the different parts of my bodies and literally, and I said it before, like separating the particles, but it was more than that. It was like separating the matrix of what makes me and like re fucking configuring shit and like replacing it. I feel like maybe not to you, but I feel like I even look different. I'm just like, it was so fucking crazy. And then at one point, I finally joined back the group, and my one friend was talking to me, and I was like, oh my God, like she's so grounded. Like she's so anchored into earth. And it hit me so hard how like I'm not. People think I'm a really grounded person, but like I need to visualize a fucking anchor. Like I can't, like my frequency is so cosmic. I can't, it's so hard. It takes so much effort for me to stay here. And I just started sobbing. And I was like, I am having such a hard time staying human. Like, and I'm not talking like suicidal. I'm not talking about being an adult. I mean, physically staying in form is so hard. And then I took a shroom nap, which was really nice. And then after I was like, okay, I'm finally feeling the duality of being human and not human. Like truly feeling this split duality and feeling like I'm anchoring and being more comfortable on earth, which I didn't realize how uncomfortable I was being on earth until that moment. I was so uncomfortable being here. And I'm like, now I feel just like really like reset, but I'm like, dude, Godmother's fucking shrooms are like no other. I really, and my friends didn't have godmothers, they got from somebody else, but they left and left me alone for a little bit, and I, like, Palo Santo'd a little bit, and I gridded the house with binary code, and I was like, "Give us what we all need," and after, everyone was like, "That was the most emotional and introspective trip I've had, either in a while or ever," and I was like, "Not my fault, though. Sorry." But it really showed me that for me, a full psilocybin trip is I can do it around other people, but it's for me. It is for that purpose.
Phew. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah,
I
dude.
mean, yes, it's for you, but it's for the collective in a
Yeah.
really unique and interesting way because I mean, we love thinking about mycelium, the mycelium network, right? So what you're doing right now is affecting so many other people, and I'm glad. I'm glad you had that experience. It takes a lot of work to show up and be given the information from the medicine in a way that one, you're willing and able to hear it and receive it, and then also take the time to integrate it. So I'm sure you have some more resting
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being with yourself to do afterwards. But
Yeah. I mean,
spring is definitely a good time to sit with the mother.
for sure. And it was interesting because I feel like I didn't get, besides the fact of how uncomfortable I was being human, I didn't get any like messages, right? Like it wasn't like, here's a download. And here it was a lot of energy work on my body. And afterwards, it was just the realization that like this emotional roller coaster and all the shit that I've been going through, like even after all that, that like I'm good. Like that's what it was a reminder of like, you're fine. Like you're gonna be like, you're chilling. And I was like, "Am I? I guess. Yeah, you know what? I am."
It's interesting you say you didn't get any, you know, specific downloads because what happens, I think, when you're working in the binary code and that you're, I guess, seeing fractal patterns, that's to me like a sign of more of a reboot, like a reprogramming.
Mhm.
And so downloads, they may or may not happen during that, but I think it's really nice to be fully in the reboot stage
Yeah.
and not like I need to receive signs and symbols and
Yeah.
information, but more like I'm turning my like circuit board, my nervous system over to you, and may the best outcome serve my next level of frequency.
Yes,
So
bitch. And that's exactly what it was. It was a full fucking reboot from head to toe, like feeling everything and just keep my eyes closed and feeling into how it shifts everything. And after I mentioned to you, like during Pisces season, that dream state was very much like I was seeing through the matrix. Like I wasn't just like, because I've been able to like see the matrix, right? Like I've been able to like recognize the simulation in it all and like actually find the beauty in that and be like, oh my God, like how fucking beautiful that this is my simulation. Like, look at
yeah.
what I fucking did. Like, look at what I helped co-create. Cause of course it's Mother Earth, right? Of course it's all of us together. But during Pisces season, I was seeing like literally like as if the matrix was separating just enough for me to see past that, to see past form and see, for lack of a better word, because I just showed you this clip, the Jeremy Bearimy of it all. Like how, like, and for those who don't know Jeremy Bearimy, watch A Good Place. They describe the timeline like writing in script Jeremy Bearimy, how it's loopy and it goes back and forth and it's not linear. And I'm watching that. And I'm like, and that's why it was so spacey because I was literally like not in a full dimension, if that makes any sense.
I mean, to me, Tara, you're always in multiple dimensions at the same time. So it's, I think, just having another perspective of what it's like to,
But it was almost like
I
I
don't know.
was in the space between dimensions. Like I
Okay.
saw that I was in all
Yeah.
these other ones, right? I can see how time is not linear, but I was like existing in the space between and being like, whoa, look at that. And look at, oh, look at, ooh, like swirly, like look over there. Like,
Which to me is very 4D.
yes. And that's why like perspective, like, like really, really truly thinking about perspective came to me so much because like even with time, like I was like, oh, time, and we've spoken about this before. Time is just a construct. It's really cycles. It's not linear. We can go back and forth. But I was like, all it is just taking this, and I don't know, like, I know we've said it before and I'm, like, repeating myself, but it feels so different to me to say and just shifting my perspective, right? Like, even with time being like, "Oh, well, if time's not linear, then I can play with it because it's only a perspective. So actually, I'm gonna make more time today. I'm gonna stretch out time. Or I'm gonna pause everything that's going on over there so I could do what I gotta do, and then I'll jump back into time." Like, that's the field I was running, which is so weird.
It has me being a little bit grateful for the fact that we have amnesia when we come back into our bodies for
Yeah.
this human experience this time around, because if we were to remember everything at once, it would be so overwhelming to this human body, and we'd literally implode and or explode
Mhm.
at the same time. And so amnesia is kind of, I'm getting a new perspective on it. I think as we're talking right now,
Yeah.
that amnesia is a really good thing, because what fun would it be to remember everything and why you're here, and like what kind of journey, like how would that change how you show up and like who you become and how quickly you become who you're meant to become. And
Mm.
it's sort of like that whole idea of like, if you know who you're going to end up with, like as a romantic partner, how are you going to treat the person you're dating now?
Mm.
Or, I mean, are you going to actually cut the cords and create space for this person to enter into your life?
Mm.
Asking me to me.
Yeah. Dude, you're so right. And I was just talking about this, like, with some of the parents, because we at our school, the way we teach is like we want you to explore a concept before we give you any limitations, because if you have the limitations first, then you're never going to be able to like hit these other points, right? So instead of me teaching you how to, I don't know, I'll give you a good example. My friend Emma did and Michelle did a government study, right, on world government. But instead of them teaching world government, they said, "Hey, here's a couple questions and parameters. You make a world government. No limitations. We want to know how you're doing law enforcement. What are your rules? How do you take care of the earth? All these like parameters." And then after they learned about world governments around the world and were able to compare, right? So it's thinking about how do you, with no limitations, you step into something and experience it fully before we see the parameters of what things are. So if we didn't have amnesia, we would already know the parameters, like you're saying, and work very differently because we knew what was going to happen or what we want to happen, versus like us being able to get the full experience of life because you don't know what's going to happen or what you did before.
My mind is totally blown because I've always worked from this place of bending the barriers or bending the parameters, and like of course learning that first, and then how do I manipulate it to then expand it and like kind of tie in the ends that were like broken open to
Yeah.
make that like expansiveness possible. And that seems like such a waste of energy when we could just approach it from this like chrysalis of a
Mhm.
idea and then let it form its own parameters as a container. Very feminine masculine,
Yes.
right? Where it is both simultaneously, but each is playing its own role. um cool.
Because
I like it.
it limits your thinking, right? When you see the parameters, you're like only thinking, how do I break out of, like you said, this small little crack,
Yeah.
versus like, oh, I already had all of these ideas and all of these ways to go. And now you put me in a box and I get to figure out how to make my ideas or intuition or magic happen and find the cracks that actually align with what I want instead of just finding the cracks that are available for me.
Put baby in a corner and she's gonna time shift and portal hop her way right out of there.
Oh my God. But I think that's the perspective switch, right? Like, stop looking for answers outside yourself. Stop looking for the parameters that you got to beat and just do it. And then when you hit the wall, then you figure out your next step. Like, just fucking swing and swing big. And if you break the glass wall, oh well.
And how often do we really get to experience sitting in observation of the perspective and allowing the perspective to be what shapes and molds to the experience?
Mm,
Because it seems like I don't know, it could be a more, mm, well, I don't want to say enjoyable because nothing really feels super enjoyable right now because we're in such a state of like crumble
yeah.
and destruction, and it's all for the good.
Mhm.
I mean, this is all very, very good. And talk about perspective, seeing it as such while also experiencing joy in moments when it comes up, right? I lost my tangent. Fuck it. Let's keep going. So, Tara and I had the pleasure of doing this energy work. What's it called? My brain can't even compute what it's called.
What are you talking about?
The heart wall.
Oh, I honestly don't know.
Wait, can you even explain it?
I can
We can
explain
all
it, yeah. Dude, I didn't even realize that that's how long ago it's been since we were recording. Was the last thing I said when I was going to Florida? Holy mother of God. So, what Victoria's talking about is I went to Florida for an immersion ceremony to become a priestess. Your girl is a priestess now. And
and a queen in our
and a
hearts.
queen. Um and one of my priestess sisters, Christina, does amazing energy and healing work. And I'm sure there is a name for it. It's the one, the arm test, like the muscle test, to like see where you have blockages in your energy. And she does it in a very specific way where she narrows it down to emotions. And when you figure out what emotion it is that you're holding on to that's blocking your heart, that's, you know, causing issues or uncomfortability. It's about how, yes, talk therapy and healing and going through your journey and reparenting and all that is good. But sometimes, like, redoing that over and over and over and just telling yourself the same narrative is like you're then living that narrative over. So the concept is let's bring it up, let's recognize it, let's get rid of it. And she goes across the meridians and gets rid of it. And it was a fucking incredible experience. I will put her information below if she's ready to share with the world. But it was like a full purge. Like I felt nauseous, I felt faint, I felt the emotion rise, no story behind it, maybe a message or two. And then she was like, foom, foom, and I was like, done. Right? Is that how you felt?
There's a little bit more story to mine, and I had very intense visuals. I had 2 sessions with Christina, both deeply profound. The second one was like, whew, we just went for it, right? And so there are probably like 5 to 10 emotions that can arise during each session, and so it's all about the release of the emotion, and then sometimes she'll do what is called an imprint,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is sort of a new perspective of the emotion
Mm-hmm.
through an affirmation. Um, and what came up for me was very relevant to everything I've been experiencing, and it cracked me open in a way that I have not experienced before because it was so subtle and it was so fast. And I see that
Mm-hmm.
this is how we're going to start to do energy work moving forward. It does not have to be this long, drawn out, painful, peeling back the layers of onions. Like, this is more like I'm going to eat the blossoming or what is it called? I almost said blossoming
Aluminum.
lotus, which is a really delicious restaurant in Portland, a vegan spot in Portland. But,
Blooming onion.
yeah, it's more like I'm just gonna devour this blooming onion, and it may or may not make me nauseous, I don't know, and that was actually one of the side effects, but
Yeah.
it happened so fast, and I think it's a
Yeah.
really good reminder of how working in subtle energy is some of the most potent and profound
Mm.
ways to shift these emotions out of you, and, Yeah, it was no joke, and it was so interesting to because I forgot that I had it. It was like a mid-morning session on a Thursday, and by, like, Thursday night and into Friday, I was like, "Why is my heart feeling like this?" Like, I kinda
Mhm.
and if you've ever had and perhaps this has maybe happened to you in a dream, but sometimes energetic surgery, like, you might even be dreaming that you're having surgery, and that's often, like, your guides, angels, whomever helping you energetically process whatever it is that's going on in your body, and I've experienced that before, but not in my waking life, not like in my heart in this way,
Yeah.
and, I feel like I've had a lot of, like, scar tissue I've been tending to in my
Mm.
heart, and so it felt really good because it felt like this, like, golden nectar, pure light dripping into all of, like, the cracks and crevices in which the scar tissue had built up over time. And I noticed that, like, the areas or the pain points in which the scar tissue developed were repeated patterns for me, like
Mm.
betrayal, or I mean, lots of other emotions. Like jealousy is something I was plagued with for most of my life. Thanks, Scorpio
Wait,
placements.
did
But,
betrayal come up for you? Was that one of those emotions?
um, gosh, it's so funny because I wrote down the words as we went through
Yeah.
during the session because it's so talk about amnesia, right?
Yeah.
It's like I hear these words and I'm like, the same emotion is not tied to it. And then your internal system wants to fight it because you're like, but wait, I know this emotion through this memory. Why aren't we thinking of it in the same way?
Yes.
And so there's kind of this like internal battle of like, are we going to accept that we don't have to think of it like
Mhm.
this anymore? So it does really take this like cognizant effort on your end after the fact in those moments in which it comes up and you're like, "Oh, I'm approaching this differently." And then it's interesting because it's like, do I feel bad about this? Do I feel
Yes.
like the same emotions? And then it's like, no, I don't. And it's okay. And I think having the courage to say, I am no longer going to be approaching this emotion in the same way I have. Isn't it bizarre how
It's
we, like, feel
so
guilty
weird.
about, like, feeling differently about something, and it's, like, so much of, like, holding on to this identity tied to, like, our traumas or experiences where it's like, "Mm-mm."
Yes, dude, I felt the same way. Like when things were coming up and I was like, why am I not upset about that? And it was scary because I'm like, do I not care? If I'm not getting
Yeah,
upset or heartache over this thing, then like there was a moment of like straight fear because, I don't even remember what it was, but something happened. Well, first of all, right after, like things were happening in a positive way. And I was like, wow, look at that. Like I'm stepping into this. My heart wall is gone. Like all these things are lining up. But then as life goes on, challenges arose. And I was like, uh, I should be upset. I should be angry. I should feel hurt. And then it was really scary to not feel those things because you're right. That's what I identified as without realizing it for so long. Like, oh, when this happens, I feel like this because of this in my past, and like this is how I handle it. And I was like, hmm, that's weird. And I did definitely feel guilty. One of those pieces was like even Andrew and I's 7-year anniversary that came up. And we like talk about perspective of time, like 7 like, as it was, like, the week of, I just kept saying out loud, like, I'm so excited, like, 7 years, like, oh my god, 7 years, I love you so much, I love you so much." And then he was like, "Okay, you keep saying that." Like, not, like, in a mean way, he was just like, "You literally aren't talking about anything else, like, you're just repeating it over and over and over." And when he confronted me, I was like, "Oh, yeah," because I'm trying to convince myself that I'm excited, but I'm actually fucking terrified. And that felt really weird because I was like, "Oh." I'm usually like this fear of abandonment piece of me is usually like, "Oh my god, like, yeah." And like that was my actual reaction of like, "Yeah, look, keep you here. Yay, yay." But what was happening was like, "Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck." 7 years is a long fucking time, and like where we're at in society standards of not being engaged, not having kids, not whatever, I was like, ooh, I think in my brain I was feeling like we were still at like 4 years because that's the timeline I set for myself. So when I heard the word 7, I was like, oh, that's terrifying. And he felt the same way. We were both like really fucking scared. Um, but for me, I like there was a lot of reflection on that too. But it's just that shifting of perspective of how I used to respond to things and how I respond differently, even if it's not always a positive thing. Like that nervousness of like, okay, 7 years is a long time. And being able to shift into that and be like, okay, well, what are the next 7 years going to look like? And what do I want for the next 7 years? And being able to talk that out with him. But I don't think any of that would have happened if my heart wall wasn't down and I lost my fear of abandonment or my heartache or my terror, because those were some things that came up for me. And I don't think I would have reflected and been able to like actually assess how I was feeling if I didn't let go of that heart wall.
And maybe it's not necessarily that you lost your fear of abandonment, it's just that you reprogrammed your fear
Yeah.
of abandonment and healed whatever it was that caused the fear of abandonment
Yeah.
in the first place, and it could be many lifetimes, of course. Um, but having that imprint and knowing that you have the power to fill in that, like, place in your heart in which
Mm,
you've held on to your fear of abandonment with something that has allowed you to be that much more present
yeah.
and, you know, what's the other word I wanna say for you? Anchored.
Yeah. Because I need to be fucking anchored. That's for sure.
Yeah, you do.
It's
We both
great. Yeah,
do.
we really do. We're always like fucking zipping out right from the bottom of our feet, up and out. But I think
Well,
also,
I'm like operating, I'm like, solar plexus heart up. And then
yeah.
it's like I'm like the magician's assistant cut in half. And it's like the bottom half of my body trying to operate in this like 3D plane of
Yes,
like being a
dude.
human. But then like that disconnect, that sever, right? Where it's like from down below, I might be operating on like a 3D level, but
Yep.
everything above is like 5D and beyond. And
Yeah.
so then to like integrate both halves.
It's hard.
Whew, it is hard,
Talk
but
about
it's also
surgery. Sew that shit together.
no kidding, no
Yeah, dude.
kidding.
It's crazy. Oh, but I think even if I didn't lose my fear of abandonment, like the implant there, like the new thought, the new perspective is, and this is a perspective that I've always known, but it was really like anchored in, was that I'm not alone. There is no being alone. Um and all of a sudden, especially with like Aries season 2 coming up, I've like shifted back into like being this confident, proud of myself, spitfire person that like I didn't realize how much I relied on like hoping and praying that Andrew was proud of me. Like just wanting him, like wanting that male figure in my life to be proud of me. And now I'm like, I could give two fucks if you're proud of me because I'm fucking proud of myself. And it was so crazy because not that Andrew is not communicative, because he very much is. He's worked really hard on that. But it was almost like the second I stopped caring about whether he was proud of me, he started saying over and over how proud of me he was. Like I was talking to him and he's like, I'm so proud of you, I'm going to cry. And I was like, what? Like, I've never heard you say that. Or maybe you've said it and I've never been able to hear it. And now because my heart is open and I'm feeling confident in myself and I'm like, no, I am fucking killing it right now. Look at how far we've come as a couple and individuals in these past 7 years, that I can actually hear him say that he's proud of me.
Mm, that's so beautiful. Well, I always like to talk in terms of duality and operating above duality, but also embracing each side of duality equally. And so, if we're looking at the energetics behind the two signs of Aries and Libra, Aries being super fiery, passionate, bullheaded, and then Libra being this like sweetheart into justice, things being fair. Um, because they're opposite each other in the astrological chart.
Mm.
And it is like, I think, one of the most beautiful forms of duality, Aries and Libra. My moon is in Libra, my Venus is in Libra. I love me some Libra. My Mars is in Aries, so I know these energies very well, and I tend to have a lot of Aries come into my life to piss me off, or I don't know, help me with my growth and development. TBD. Maybe I'm like, maybe I'll give a recap on that after I die because I'm too in it and they piss me off too much.
Wait, is something happening with Libra too right now? Or you're just saying because they're opposite
uh
on the wheel?
well, yeah, so on April 8th, the eclipse will be. Oh, I'm
Oh.
sorry. No, no, no. Hold on. Let me back up. March 25th is the full moon in Libra.
Okay, okay,
So full
okay.
moon, right? And then the
Okay,
new moon will be on April 8th.
okay. Okay, so we have
But
a full moon in Libra this Monday, eclipse. And then the following Monday is Mercury retrograde, right? And then the following Monday
yes,
after that is the solar eclipse. Am I getting that right?
correct.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
Fun,
Yeah.
right?
Well, did you see, bro? Did you see that all of these like news and like they have to tell you what's going on and sometimes like they
Yes.
lie, but they have to tell you the truth all the time, right? Like not all the time, but they have to
Yes.
tell you what's going to happen. There are all these fucking newscasters and police officers and like other people in whatever field, I don't know, whatever, that are saying like that the internet or like potentially whatever is going to get shut down by the solar eclipse. Did you hear that?
I have not really been on social media much, but
Like
or
they were
the
telling
news or whatever.
they were act like I feel like it's one thing to be like, "Oh, the solar energies are going to be so strong that like it can like fuck with, the grid on the earth." But they're also saying like, "Make sure you have food, make sure you have water, make sure you have gas," as if there's like a full fucking like apocalypse happening. And I'm like, "Okay, what's a coming?"
And while we don't condone fear mongering here, always be prepared.
Yeah.
Think through. And this is, I think, a really good way to start to become more present with your surroundings and your resources. And what better way to have a shakeup as to what you think you actually need in life
Mm,
when the most common, I guess, basic needs that are probably already provided for you are taken away from you. So
mhm.
clean all your underwear now. Just kidding. I don't know why that's like my most like I'm like save all your old thongs just in case you can't wash your underwear for like a month. Not and it's so funny cuz like I don't even really care that much about underwear. I'm like a nudist at heart, so it's so silly for me to be like
That's like your
obsessed over
first
that
thought.
thought, but water should be my first thought,
Yeah.
but
But no, just the underwear.
fabric up my ass is
That
apparently where it's at.
that's the most important thing is to have something up your ass during these trying times.
Better than an Aries.
Ooh,
Just kidding.
you heard it here first, folks. You heard it here, folks. No, but I'm kind of like
um
this shit's going to get wild. Like I know eclipse season, I know all this is like meant to bring up all the things that we need to let go of. I know it's going to shake some shit up. I think also we've both been, as well as many other people, have been feeling that since the start of 2024, at least in my perspective, the frequency of Earth, and we've been talking about the shift into 5D and all that, but the frequency of Earth herself is like ramping the fuck up ramping the fuck up. And that's why we're seeing a lot of chaos going around. And I think that's why there's going to be this like break in technology or break in the internet or electricity because there needs to just be that like shut down and reboot, like restart Earth, like just unplug, blow in the cartridge, replug. You know what I mean? Like I feel like everything is ramping up so fucking fast.
It's really important to understand that the collective energy is in pure chaos right now, and you yourself do not need to be a part of that because you can anchor in your own peace and do what
Mhm.
you need to do to make yourself feel sane and cared for. So I really encourage you to tune into your own energy now more than ever before, because I think if we start to really feed into this collective crumbling, it is going to be detrimental to your experience during this time. And your
Mhm.
experience deserves the peace and the love and the comfort that you yourself know how to give yourself, because this is what you've been practicing. This is doomsday preparation right here.
Yeah, that's for sure.
How do you bring yourself comfort during times of collective chaos? Because if you match that energy, you're just feeding into it and
Mm.
amplifying it even more.
Mhm.
Understand? Yes. Thank you.
Mhm. And if you think about it too, right? Like literally from like sense of like shaking, right? Like for those who aren't watching, like as your frequency gets faster and you're shaking more, you're shaking off shit that is not going to fit that new speed. So if you're staying matched with the shift in earth, then you're only shaking off whatever you don't need and you're continuing to move up, as opposed to like staying where the crumbling is happening. Like you're saying, like instead of feeding into that and staying there, like you're just working on yourself, staying in your frequency, continuing to raise your frequency, continuing to match like this new earth that we're stepping into. And then, yeah, you may face challenges, shit may come up, cord cutting may have to happen, but it happens from an internal safe container as opposed to, like Victoria said, like feeding into this collective chaos.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom.
And this is a really fun way to also experiment with timeline hopping, because if you want to not participate in the fear and the chaos at this time, feel ahead to what's to come,
Mm,
which is peace, community, your basic human needs being provided for everyone.
mm-hmm.
And I know, so many people are like, look at this hell and chaos that's happening right now. We can't ignore it. We can't ignore it. And I'm not saying don't ignore it. Very much acknowledge it. But this is an energy game. Remember this. And you are only responsible for you and how you respond.
Mm-hmm.
Me to me. Saying me to me. The power of perspective is a funny little bitch, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. And it's a challenging one when you're in both the 5D and the 3D.
And all the D's.
Yeah. Ooh.
Well,
But I feel like it is hard to like see what's happening, feel like you want to do something about it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do something about it if you can, for sure. But that's what Victoria's saying is like it's your action to take care of yourself and what you can do.
but here's what's such bullshit about it is we're being told how we should be responding to
Mhm.
things, and that's not the answer to this anymore. And I'm really talk about thinking outside the box here. We are, you know, like let me calm my tongue real quick cuz she's getting fiery. I just bring this to your attention because we have been programmed for so long to respond and to think we're contributing in a way that perhaps is not contributing to what we are
Mm.
intentionally contributing to, but rather what they want us to
Mm.
contribute to, which is perpetuating the fear and chaos. And so,
It's the concept of talking about solutions instead of talking about the problems and chaos you see.
exactly.
Like, you don't need to ignore it, but instead of just being like, "Well, they shouldn't be doing this and people shouldn't be doing that and this is crazy and look at how bad they are," being like, "Well, how do we lead with love and compassion? What do you need to do to step up into love and compassion and how can you guide others into doing that?"
even if you do this in your day to day, it doesn't have to be to the
Yeah.
enemies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, it just you know what I'm saying? Like, it is an energy game at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day.
In the middle of the day. Which makes me think about celestial Earth, but I feel like that's a longer topic that maybe I want to bring up next episode is celestial Earth a little bit more.
I kind of feel like capping this episode. Should we give them the good news?
Yeah, we should. Oh, do it, do it.
Okay, so Tara and I are very passionate magical beings, obviously. And we have been praying and praying for equipment or some sort of way to be in the same space together, like really making this podcast official. And so we've done a ton of research into like soundboards and microphones and all this stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, Tara and I are just catching up one day and she goes to me, "Hey, did you know that my school's getting some podcasting equipment?" And I like look at her and I'm like, "You know what this means, right?" Like it like took you were saying it and I was like, "That's our podcast room."
Mm-hmm.
So, next season we are going to be in the same space together. Hopefully equipment is on our side. But it's going to be so good to share a space with you, my dude.
Oh, I know. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to like shift that a little bit and really, we run a good channel together from miles away, but I'd love to be right next to your cute ass and really fucking just shoot the shit, channel shit.
Shoot the shit, channel shit. Just trust, bitch.
Just trust, bitch. But I think for today, that's all we got.
We're back at it. We're not going to leave you hanging any longer. We'll
No,
see you next week.
we love you.